Hi, my name is Isabella. My name's Ren. And you're watching the Share Pod.
You play to win, I play to fight. Let's drop the man side right. Welcome everybody to another exclusive edition of the Sheriff Podcast. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we've all heard the term, the hockey world is a small world. Now, what's an even smaller world is the elite small group of former and current players that have actually dedicated their lives to making a difference for the players that we have today. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, my guest today is like the blueprint of a professional hockey player that has defeated all odds and has bettered himself, and as a result has helped so many people improve their lives. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls all over the world, I would like to introduce to you my guest today. He hails from Port Coquitlam, British Columbia. At 5'10", 190 pounds, he is a middleweight. He has played pro hockey in 2 different countries. He holds the world record for the shortest season in Ontario Senior Hockey League history. Ladies and gentlemen, he is the host of the hit podcast, Hockey to Hell and Back, the founder of Puck Support. He is a motivational speaker and a role model to us all. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, my friend Brady Leavold. How are you doing today, my man?
Doing well. Thanks for having me. Thank you for having me. It's good to finally be down here. What a spot. What a spot you guys have down here. It's fantastic.
It is an incredible spot, Brady, and I'm excited to have you here, and I'll tell you a couple of reasons why. Now, I'm gonna spill the beans a little bit. I plan on taking a run at a broadcast job. So my last couple weeks, I have tried to get guests together that have been the biggest part of my journey on the media side. Yourself, Mr. Ken Reed, and Mr. Michael Fuda. So being a part of that group, Brady, I just want you to know that you have been such a big influence to me, dude, and I want to thank you first and foremost, just for you being you, my man.
Oh, man, you're going to make me cry, man. Like, come on. But, no, good for you. I know when you came on my podcast over a year ago, we kind of chatted, and you kind of shared with me some dreams that you had and how you wanted to go about it, and we chatted, and, we said go for it, and you've certainly done that, and it looks good on you. So, I'm in your corner all the way, man.
Well, I appreciate that, especially coming from you, my man. So now, Brady, there is so many things that you got going on right now, but I'm gonna be a little bit selfish because I want my viewers to know everything about Brady Leavold, because I know they're gonna be just as big a fan as I am of you once this episode is done. So we're going to the beginnings, my friend, okay? Now, the first time, I think I did okay. I'm gonna try again. Port Coquitlam.
Yeah, that's pretty good. It's Port Coquitlam, but yeah, you're close. You're close. Like I told him, you can call it Poco if you really want. That's what the people from there call it. So, but I grew up in Port Coquitlam. I always say that's the town that Terry Fox grew up in and had a pretty nice childhood. On from the outside, certainly that's how it looked, and had a few challenges at a very young age. First my mom and dad divorced, leaving my dad to be a single dad. And, he did a fantastic job. I think as a young boy, losing your mom on a regular basis is a pretty tough blow to take. And, a single dad just can't fill all those roles. And unfortunately, shortly after that, I think many people know, or anyways, that I was sexually abused, and that kind of put me on a trajectory. And I always say it put me on like 2 paths. Like first, it was really obviously traumatic for me and kind of changed my life in that instant. But it also put me on a path to fall in love with the game of hockey, because hockey became my first escape. It was like that first drug. I always say, I'm going to be candid about it. When I was playing hockey at any capacity, whether it was by myself in the carport or on the ice, it never changed. I always felt safe. I never was thinking about all that stuff that had happened. So, when you do that and you throw yourself into something like that and you spend many hours doing it, you develop skills. It doesn't matter what it is, whether it's hockey or dancing or whatever it is. So that's what happened. I became pretty good at hockey because I put the time in. And looking back, I think that was definitely an addiction, albeit look, was it a healthy one? I'm not sure. But that's what kind of kept me sane and kept me together for a long time. Made it to the Western Hockey League at 16. And,
Yes, sir.
I always say it's like, there I am, like living out my dream, playing in the best junior hockey league that I possibly could at 16 years old. And most kids would kill to have that opportunity. And I just remember thinking, like, I don't want to be here, not just in Swift Current, but that was the first time where I really became like suicidal, Sean, right? And ended up leaving and really started to struggle with alcohol. And it obviously played a part in my hockey career. You mentioned hockey being a small world, and when you start to do things like that, people find out pretty quick. And
Yes.
still willed my way through a pretty good WHL career. It was a bit of a disaster, but at the end of it, I ended up signing with the Tampa Bay Lightning after my final year with the Kelowna Rockets. And once again, you would think, here it is. Here's an opportunity to live out your dream. And that was the summer that my life really started to fall apart with drugs. And I always say that was never going to be a part of my life. Like, as a hockey player, I never thought that drugs were a part of hockey. And sadly, drugs are everywhere in this world, and hockey is no exception. But started to use them my first year pro, and also got prescribed painkillers, Oxycontin. And I always highlight this part of my story because I think it's really important for people to understand, whether they're athletes or people working. We can all get injured, and at different times we go to the doctor and we just trust them, and sometimes that's okay. But I didn't ask any questions. I was 21 years old, seeing a professional hockey team's doctor, and a torn knee on both sides, MCL, ACL, meniscus, the whole thing, clearly in pain. So I wasn't questioning, like, why would I be taking these painkillers, right? I didn't know how they were going to trigger that relief for the emotional pain, and that really put me on a trajectory for some pretty severe addiction for over a decade, which landed me in jail, landed me homeless in many different places. And if you want to jump in, that's sort of the Cole's Notes of my version, bringing us up to 2020. And since then, I'm losing my voice here. Hold on.
That's okay, man.
But since then, I've been able to turn my life around, through my podcast and some of the other stuff that I'm doing, which I'm sure we'll talk about. So it's been quite the ride.
Quite the ride. And Brady, first off, like, I just want to say, like, that's really brave. And I know you've done this before, right? I know you've done this several times. I know that you do motivational speeches. I know that you do all types of things, which I can't wait to get into. But it's very brave to be personable like this, to step up, to actually share this type of information. So I'm honored that you're doing this. It's priceless. A lot of people are going to be helped by this because they see that you're sharing this. They know that they're not alone. They know that they're not the only ones. So this is very valuable, and I want to really thank you for opening up like that, first and foremost, my friend. Now, secondly, you're not going to get off that easily, my man, because before we get into the end of that timeline, I need the listeners to know the type of hockey player that you were, Brady Leavold, okay? So now, just hold on a second. I got to pump you a little bit. So now, we talked about the WHL, but let's talk about the trade to Kelowna. Let's talk about someone getting over a point per game. When they get traded to Kelowna, the chance to play with the legendary Jamie Benn.
Yeah.
I want you to talk about this time period because it sounds like that may have been the beginning to some of the using, because that's how it is with a lot of junior players towards the end of the career of junior.
Yeah, it was an incredible opportunity just to play in Kelowna. I grew up my summers on Okanagan Lake. My dad, that's where I was every summer, and always felt a deep connection to the lake and the community of Kelowna and the surrounding areas in the mountains. And I got to spend a lot of time up there when I played, like in the mountains and in the woods and doing stuff. And I had a really good year because I was good mentally. It was actually probably, without question, the best year of my life as far as prior to, the last 2 years where I wasn't drinking or using drugs or really looking to escape from myself. I was just enjoying where I was, having fun, playing hockey, being part of a team. I didn't care about my points. I wasn't worried about where I was playing the next year. I didn't really even care to play the next year. And then, course, you have a good year, and then they start calling, even after everything I'd gone through. There's so much that I skipped over. But, you know, it was great. Kelowna was great. The Western Hockey League experience was great. And, you know, I always wanted to be Pavel Bure, but I learned there's only one Pavel Bure. And so I had to kind of recraft my career, and that involved fighting, much like your career. And I got a lot of points. I think that year I had 70 points or something in 26 fights. So I was a bit of a mixed bag, but I wasn't very good in my own end, I'll be honest.
Well, you must have been okay in your own end, because what I'm about to bring up next is something that not too many people can say that they've accomplished in their life and in their hockey careers, and that's signing a contract with the National Hockey League team. You were able to do that with the Tampa Bay Lightning, my man. So, I mean, that's pretty cool. So congratulations, first and foremost. Secondly, so how did you find out about that? Like, how did that all come out? Did you have to decide? Was Tampa the lone soldier?
No.
Was there a bidding war for Brady?
Oh, it's a long story, and I'm still kind of bitter about it, to be honest. But we're not going to get into the finer details right now.
Yep.
But I was really between the Rangers. I'm looking at a jersey right now. St. Louis and Tampa, and I was going to sign with St. Louis, and because I was supposed to go to Peoria after my season. They were their AHL team.
Yes.
But I couldn't get a work visa in time. And so that was always the plan. And then that summer, if you remember, somebody bought the Tampa Bay Lightning. If anyone wants to dig up the research on that, you can figure it out who bought it that year. And he hadn't purchased the team yet, and he called me, and I knew him. And, well, actually, I called him because I was like, listen, I appreciate it. Like, you're not the owner yet, but I know you're in the process of it, and you're tied into it. But I'm going to sign with St. Louis. I think it's the best opportunity. And I remember he just was like lost on me. He's like, they don't know you there, this and that. And so he kind of talked me out of it. And, you know, whatever, probably all the same things would have happened. But it was not the best decision, let's just say. But, yeah, nonetheless, you know, I getting checks from the Tampa Bay Lightning for a short period of time was pretty awesome. You know?
Yeah.
It's cool. Like, that's the dream. But life away from hockey became so difficult that, you know, I started to resent the game, and I could care less of where I played or any of my time spent playing hockey. I wanted it gone and removed from my life because it just was so painful once I got into that place of darkness and having to watch people I played with or against on TV while I'm in jail. It wasn't a ton of fun. So it took a lot to get over that. But I'm certainly glad I did, because I'm back in the hockey community now, coaching and doing things that have filled my heart way more than playing ever did. So it's great.
Now, and I want to thank you for sharing that too. Now, Brady, the thing is like, I'm such a big fan of yours that if it was up to me, I would sit here and I would talk to you all day long. I got to have a kind of a combusted episode here. So I'm trying to pick and choose of what I want to talk about with this legend. So now, obviously, there was a time, in my life, I had a huge downfall. You had a downfall in your life. What's most impressive about that is what you did after, right? What I want to talk about is, I want to get into puck support right now, okay? But I want to talk about how you got to puck support. Because from my research, it seemed like that was almost what was ending the badness and starting the goodness. Now, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely. The idea of Puck Support was to be a nonprofit organization to help support hockey players dealing with mental illness, mental health issues, and substance abuse issues. And because that's what very early on, I was just relating my story, like trying to connect, and for the longest time, I thought I was alone. When I found out the story of Matthew Lazinski, who played in the OHL, he passed away of a fentanyl overdose, and then Mitch Fadden, who was my roommate in Norfolk in the AHL, and I played against him my whole life, minor hockey, junior, and we, you know, obviously did things together and struggled together.
He's on my T-shirt, Brady, that you gave me last year.
And so when I found out that he passed away, I really grasped that and wanted to do something, because it was no longer about me, and I knew if it was, like, I'm still here, lucky to be alive. We've lost Matthew, we've lost Mitch. I knew undoubtedly there would be more. And I just still can't really believe the numbers that I've counted to date. It's 81 hockey players, just hockey players that I know of, that have taken their own life or died from overdose. and many that I just discovered in the last year or two during COVID. The hockey community has been hit really hard, and so, that was the initial idea. But I soon found that, instead of focusing on just hockey players, because hockey players already get enough attention and you get enough special treatment, but what we can do is we can use hockey as a vehicle to just really ignite change and try to help those that need it, not just hockey players, but let's get the hockey community around this and let's involve other people, because I really felt if we can get the hockey community involved, then we'll get everybody talking here in Canada for sure.
So now I just want to read the website, because when I read this, it was very powerful to me. Igniting change in mental health and substance misuse by setting the hockey world in motion. That's pretty strong stuff, my friend.
Yeah, I can't take full credit for that. We've played around with the words a little bit as I get more educated myself on language and terminology. We've changed some of the wording in there. It used to be addiction and
yes.
And then, substance abuse it was for a while, but, it's really, when we talk that, it's substance misuse, because it's not just individuals who have been addicted for a prolonged period of time. There's a story of Nick and Jack Savage, two brothers who experimented with something one night at a party and they both lost their life. So was that substance abuse or is that substance misuse, right? So I share that story because it's really important to understand that it's not just people who are getting into it for a long time. This can happen, and it can be one choice that can change your life. It can either take your life or put you on a trajectory like mine that, I saw me struggle for 12 years.
Yes. So Brady, now here's the thing. When I'm hearing you talk about Puck Support, this is what comes up in my mind. Brady Leavold, when he was in that second year pro, and you're battling in your mind.
Yeah.
If at that time there was a Puck Support, what would you have to do to get with Puck Support? So there's thousands of that situation,
Yeah.
Brady, right now.
Yeah.
So what would you do? What would be the steps if you knew what to do? What can you tell?
I think that's a really good question, and I think for me, Puck Support is not necessarily about somebody from Puck Support always necessarily stepping in. I think it can be more of a movement, and we all have to do better, like as teammates, as coaches, as parents, wherever, not just hockey, but everywhere. We need to just do better as people. And for me, that always comes down, like, what's the solution? People helping people, lifting each other up, being there for one another. You can wait for the government or for organizations to come in and solve the problems, but they're not always going to be there. But people are always going to be there, and the sooner we help each other, the sooner that everyone's going to be better off. If I would have been able to tell one of my teammates or walk into my coach's office and tell him how I was feeling, or that I was addicted to painkillers, instead of trying to hide it from everybody because, oh no, now I'm addicted. Now what if they find out? Oh my, and look what happened. Trying to hide it from everybody just because I was so embarrassed and worried about what was going to happen in the end. In the end, I was homeless. I was in jail, survived overdoses on overdoses, very luckily. But what if I would have just been able to walk in the dressing room and say, hey, listen, this is what's going on. Maybe it's a different story. That's Puck Support. Yeah. Giving people the courage to stand up and say, hey, I'm here for you, or I need help. That's Puck Support to me.
Puck Support happens every day. Puck Support is nonstop, and Puck Support's unconditional.
That's right.
That's the way that I look at it.
Right? And so, Puck Support is a nonprofit organization that is slowly coming together. As you can imagine, where I came from was the bottom, coming out of jail on welfare, so it took a little while, and that's less than 3 years ago. You're thinking it hasn't been that long. But finally, we're getting things together, and thank you. You're getting me emotional. Finally, things are coming together. We do have plans to be, making impacts, educating and being there for supports and connecting people. There are plans, but again, Puck Support or whoever or whatever is not always going to be around. You can call hotlines, and that's great, and I encourage people to do that. But for me, it's been human connection every single time. It's got to be people helping people, and that's been a big part of my my story, my recovery is just the community that I've felt, through friendships like yours. Kendra's here, that's what it is.
Now, Brady, and thank you again. That's going to be a theme in this song because there's going to be a lot of gratitude being shown here. The mental health part of everything, like I really want to talk about that. I know that we are talking about it, but specifically, I want to know your opinion on like a professional team. Like, do you believe that there should be like a mandatory counselor on the team, especially at the junior ranks when those kids are doing a pro schedule, but being treated like children, right? Yeah. And it's difficult.
It's tricky for me because, like, I've gone through it all, right? First off, with counselors and sports psychologists as a hockey player, and then through psych wards and rehabs and you name it, every medication, every counselor, every form of therapy, I tried it. And unless the person on the other side of the room had some sort of connection with lived experience and actually understood what I was going through, for me, I never found value in it. So just sticking a counselor into a dressing room atmosphere isn't going to bring that out in people. I really think for people to feel comfortable, they have to see somebody else being vulnerable. I know that was the case for me. I leaned on people heavily, like Sheldon Kennedy, Theo Fleury.
Yep.
They paved the way for people like me, who were younger and had gone through different things. And, it took many years, but when I was ready to stand up, they were there ready to hold my hand, right? So, like, it wasn't a counselor that did it. It was me identifying with people who had lived experience and were able to help walk me through the process and be there and just listen and share. And, there is a form to therapy. I've done it. It was a part of my story. Sexual abuse trauma counseling and therapy. It was a part, but I really found more value talking with somebody with lived experience. That's just me. So it's a tricky question. It's a yes and it's a no. I think if you have the right person in there, it's a no-brainer. But if you just stick somebody who's irrelevant, where the players are tuning out, which I've been a part of, then you're just wasting people's time.
I agree with that. It makes sense. The reason why I want to talk about it is because what I've realized that since I've gotten this platform is I'm realizing a certain theme, that there needs to be a discussion, which is the awareness, which leads to action.
That's
right. And unless we're talking about it, nothing's going to happen. So I'm just trying to keep the conversation going, and I really appreciate that input right there, brother.
Yeah, I think it's important, and maybe it's not a waste of time. I think there's like an educational side to it as well, and I do see a lot of people trying to do good. My question is how much of that is being retained and how much is it really getting through? Because I went through a lot of that. I don't know if you remember going through stuff when you played, and I remember grabbing my hockey pants out of my locker and throwing it on the ground, and nap time while the video's on. Yep, I'm here, initial beside my name, whatever, done. Didn't even watch the video.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just me. There's like 17 other guys doing the exact same thing.
Oh, yeah.
And I had a guy the other day actually tell me, a guy who plays in the NHL, tell me, he's like, I saw an interview you did where you talked about that. And he goes, I laughed so hard. And this is a guy who was playing in the O.
Okay.
He's like, same thing in our dressing room. And I was like, well, there you go. So it's got to be implemented the right way.
Yes. So now I'm going to change things up just a little bit because I've said the word therapy, I've said the word counseling. So now one way of therapy and counseling for me is being a part of programs, is doing the show. What I've seen from Brady Leavold lately is a little bit of Believe hockey skills and mentoring. And I'm watching this and I'm like, wait a second, what is this? And I'm watching this, and I'm like, this is really, really cool. Because, I'm going to find out right now, but the way that it looks is different from any other program. Can you please explain this?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's different than any other program, but I think what we see a lot of on today's social media is a lot of stuff that is irrelevant to the game of hockey with obstacles and things on the ice. You very rarely will see that on the ice with me. I love to play around and do tricks on my own time, but when I get on the ice with kids, or certainly the pro guys I was skating with this summer, there's none of that. It's teaching kids how to play in the tough areas of the ice and how to battle and how to compete and how to pick pucks and how to take pucks on the walls and really understand the game rather than going around 100 obstacles that are not moving, which is completely irrelevant in a game. Once in a while, maybe it's okay. I mean, it looks great on social media, but it has no place really in the game. So it's been a treat, though. Being on the ice coaching has been maybe the greatest gift in my recovery. There's maybe one other thing so far, but it's been fantastic. I never thought that less than 3 years ago, I'm in a jail cell now. I'm coaching kids and in a pretty cool place, and got to be on the ice with some NHL guys this summer. 3 years ago, waking up in a 6x9 cell, hating my life, questioning like everything. There was never a chance I was even going to put my skates on just to put them on just to go on the ice. Not a chance. I didn't even let myself believe that was a possibility for me to even be okay to go into an ice rink. And here we are, just a few years later with all this happening. I share that because I think it's really important if anyone's watching. If I can do it, anyone can. And, I've been really lucky with the support that I've got. I can't say thank you enough to everyone that's been a part of my journey. I'm going to get emotional because without everybody lifting me up when I took a chance, then I'm not here, right? I started to share my story and people supported me, and it could have went another way, and they could have just said, get out of here. And that's a harsh reality. It could have happened, but it didn't. And, I'm just so grateful for that. And that's never forgotten in my mind. So for me, there's no looking back. And like it's just about so much more than me and just my story. It's about hopefully bringing people together and saving lives, because we've lost way too many.
Absolutely. Now, Brady, I just want to add a little bit to what you're saying right now. So now we're talking about a time period of, 3 years ago when it was, a very dark time, okay, and what we couldn't imagine happening. So now I've talked to you about this a little bit, but I just find that it's important just because of the timing right now of what we're talking about. You bring a lot of people together, brother, and I'm going to give you an example. I was lucky enough to be invited to a golf tournament in St. Mary's. I'm at this golf tournament. Now, I'm not the best golfer, but I had a pretty good day, Brady. So I was really happy with myself, okay? So I'm walking around. I'm very happy with myself. I'm all confident. And I see this Puck Support t-shirt. And I see it, and I'm like, oh, wow, that's one of the coolest Puck Support t-shirts I've ever seen. I'm like, hey, do you know that guy? And she's like, yeah, he's coming. I'm like, there's no way he's coming, because I'd never met you before. Yeah. I'm like, there's no way this guy's coming. And she's like, yeah, he's doing a speech for like a junior team thing or like in the country club. And then I was with Jeff Zare. I told Jeff, you should have seen him. He's like, no, wait, Brady's coming? Like, this is incredible, right? So, and then there was a couple more reactions, Brady, that were exactly the same. People get excited when they know that you're going to be coming. Why is this? Because the energy that you bring, because of the intentions that you have, and because of how loving you are, brother. So what you couldn't imagine 3 years ago, people are praying for you to do now, bro, right? So don't stop.
Thank you. I have to make a comment because I keep looking down at your notes. These look exactly like my notes. I'm going to send you a picture. I swear those are my notes from my desk. I'm not even kidding. Same writing, same paper. It's crazy. I keep looking down at it. I'm like, is that my writing?
I have to admit,
and everything. I'm like,
I hired someone to steal your notes, buddy, so I could try to have a good show.
Oh, really? Oh, I thought you were serious. I'm like... He's going, yeah, Johan is here. He's waving his hand. He's like, yeah, it was me. I'm like, you could have got me.
These are my notes.
I'm going to send you a picture, and we'll do a comparison. I'm not kidding. I'm going to take a picture.
Well, hey, man, I'm honored that my notes look like yours.
It's actually crazy.
I'm trying to get to your level, Brady, so I appreciate it. But, yeah, dude, so, just to finish off with that, I'm telling you, man, you're such a big impact right now, not only in the hockey world, bro, but everywhere. So you're on the right path. You are helping thousands of people, bro, and you need to just keep going. And please don't stop. And I talk on behalf of a lot of people. So, like I said, don't stop, my man.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm honestly just really enjoying life. I don't know. It's people ask me, how do you get better? How do you find hope? And I found it through like purpose, connection, and community. And those are the three things that brought me back to life. And I'm just so grateful to everyone who's been a part of the journey, and that's been you and so many. So thank you to everyone who's supported me. And thanks for having me down here. It's fantastic. Got to meet Gooch and Jordan back there. Thanks, Jordan, and everyone here for coming by. And yeah, it's awesome. What a great spot. I can't wait to come back down here. Maybe on a more regular basis.
Yes.
Kendra.
So now, Brady, hold on, bro. Hold on. So now, before we go, if you don't mind, we got to talk about this world record before we go. We got to talk about the world record, Brady. So now, listen, man. It was a little bit of a build-up last season. The hockey world was notified that Brady Leavold's making a comeback, and, everyone's excited, and there's tension in the air and everything, and the province of Ontario was really, really pumped up, man. So, I mean, you go to the rink. I'm sure you were fired up.
I didn't just go to the rink. I drove 5 hours to the rink.
Okay, so they don't want to hear me talk anymore. You tell the story.
I drove. So, yeah, I hadn't played hockey in a game in 10 years, almost 9 years. I had not played a game and had barely been on the ice. And my buddy owns a team, Matt Thompson, up in near Ottawa. And I live in Muskoka, so it's not close. I drive the 5 hours. He convinces me to play. Like he said, some people were kind of fired up because they've been following my story from, building my life from the ground up. And now a year into it, I'm going to go back and play some senior A hockey or whatever league it is. And so I go there, and during warm-up, I can't even make this up. It was right out of the movie in Slapshot. My kids are there. Everything. Warm up. This guy comes over the red line. I might have been chirping. Listen, I only play one way. I don't care if it was 1 day off, 10 years off, or 20 years off.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring it the same way every single time.
Hard and aggressive.
And I chirp a lot. So I may have, enticed him a little bit. Not enough to come over the red line and warm up, though. I'd never seen that before. Usually it's just, opening face-off, sure, let's go. I don't care. I told him, no problem. This guy wanted to do it in warm-up. This guy comes over. I'm just standing on our blue line, and he comes over, and he sheds his mitts. And next thing you know, we're fighting, and it was actually a really crazy story. And I ended up breaking his nose, but the first time I got him down, I found out later that he was actually an MMA fighter.
No way.
And a boxer. Big guy, like your size.
Wow.
Okay? Came over.
Jeez.
And I got him quick, right? Boom, boom.
So
broke his nose. He's
boom,
down.
boom, down?
But as soon as he's down, his legs came up. I've never seen him before in my life. He almost kicked me in the face.
Up?
Think about a UFC fighter when they're on the ground and they bring their legs up.
For defense.
So all of a sudden his skates were right in my face, and his skate grazed my face, and I picked him back up, hit him again, and threw him down. Anyways, so I get suspended. Don't even make it out of warm-up. Big build-up for the game. Haven't played in 10 years. Now I'm kicked out and suspended for 3 games for just protecting myself. But the cool story of it is that about a week later, I got in my spam, in my Instagram there, I check every couple days or whatever, and there's a message from this guy. Sends me the picture of his nose. He's like, I didn't know really who you were. He's like, you broke my nose. And he tells me a little bit about his story. But it turns out that he was struggling with addiction issues and different things.
Oh.
And, we were able to kind of talk a little bit after that. So
yeah,
as much of it was a gong show, and there's even a crazier story than that I could tell you sometime. The next time I tried to go play, it didn't go any better. I made it one period. It was much of the same. Ended up in the other team's dressing room.
Come on.
I swear to God. So
stay tuned to part 2.
Yeah, it wasn't
Brady
good.
enters the dressing room.
It wasn't good. So for anybody, and the guy kind of brought it on himself, but whatever. Anyways, that story too ended much the same, where I found out that the guy who was really angry and came at me that time, I have to share this story.
Yes, please.
His brother had just recently passed away from an overdose. So here I was out there, and people knew, like, on the other team about my story and whatever. This guy just went at me from the beginning and at me and at me and at me. Probably, I knew in the end because we talked after the whole in the dressing room thing and all that his brother just recently passed away, and was probably, like, you know, pretty upset that his brother wasn't here, but here's somebody that you know, it's doing better now.
Yeah.
And so I completely understand. So in both those kind of crazy stories, it still tied into kind of what I've been doing. So it's been a wild ride, buddy. It's been a wild ride.
So now the first guy, is he a puck support warrior now?
Well, not yet.
Not yet.
But we should work on that. Why not? Yeah, why not?
Okay, I'd like to see
the
him.
picture's worth when he sent me the picture of his nose, I still laughed. I was like, well, you know.
That's hilarious, man.
Not very big, but I could still throw him, I guess. I don't know, but
Brady,
I wouldn't want to fight him off the ice, man, because I think he was trying to put me in some sort of clinch on the ice. That would have been lights out, so we'll just leave it there.
Well, it's two tough guys anyway, buddy, because you're no pushover, man. I heard about you. I played with a lot of guys from the dub. You know what I mean? I know that you can chuck them with the best of them, buddy. So you're full circle with your skills, buddy. But honestly, Brady, like, it's been an absolute honor for you to come here, buddy. Like you're one of my role models, and I was telling you before the show that, like, I know it's a little bit weird because when someone older than you comes up and says, you know, like, I look up to you, you're my role model. Like I don't know how that must feel for you, but it's honest truth. So, you know, like, I love to have people I look up to on the show. That's what this is all about. I think what we talked about today is going to help a lot of people. But what I wanted to go over was I wanted to plug.
Can I just say something? That does make me feel really good because I've been looking up to you for the last 45 minutes or whatever, like this, and my neck's a little bit sore. So.
I want you to plug your things before we sign off, brother.
Oh, yeah. So Hockey to Hell and Back is my podcast. We'll have to get you back on for sure.
I would love to come back.
Maybe we can do one here or something. Who knows,
yeah,
right?
That's a great idea.
Reverse interview.
That's a great idea.
Something like that. I'd love to come back down here, whatever you guys got going on, Kendra. So it's a little inside joke. But, yeah, I plan to be down here more often. But Hockey to Hell and Back, live on YouTube. Monday nights, 8 p.m. We've kind of been quiet lately because I was just on the ice all the time this summer, but we're back full swing. Riley Sheehan on Monday night from the Buffalo Sabres will be on. Yeah, and he's got a great podcast about mental health and stuff too, him and Tyler Smith. So Puck Support, pucksupport.com, everywhere on social media at Puck Support. If you want to follow my journey at Mental Health Hockey on Instagram is where I'm most active. But yeah, that's basically it. Reach out to me. I do my best to get back to people, and
you do.
Takes a while sometimes, but it's you know, that's my own stuff that I'm dealing with. You know, there's days where I'm still struggling with my own mental health, and like I don't have it all figured out just because I'm standing up here talking about it. Don't kid yourself. There's days where I still struggle immensely, where it's hard to get out of bed. So, is there a secret formula? I'm not sure. We just learn to live with it, and that's what I'm trying to do to the best of my ability and share my journey honestly, because that's just the cold hard truth.
It was an honor to hear it, brother. Thank you so much, man. Yes. Thank you, Jordan, back there. And I want to thank the listeners and viewers for tuning in to another episode of The Sheriff featuring special guest Brady Leavold. We're going to sign off now, guys. Woo!